Here we are again, and unfortunately the news doesn't get any better. 80% of students right now have no concept of how what they're doing now connects to the rest of their life, which is not what education's about really, is it? It's supposed to be building the foundations of what becomes the rest of your life. 80% of students are merely going through the motions and hoping for the best because the schools don't know what to tell them. It's an unfortunate situation which has repercussions for both mental health, standardisation and behaviour management. It kicks in on all three. I'm not sure that the dots are being connected right now. Let me give you an example. I teach many kids who come to me for support with the system. And because of that, I've had so many different approaches to the assessment this year suggested to me that I'm amazed that any form of uniformity can be found there. So, from a standardisation point of view, I would challenge. I have, for example, one student in which their exams have been set as topic tests. Topic tests, so the teacher is able to say, your assessment will be on 3 topics, which are X, Y, and Z. I've had other students who have said they've been given whole papers. And I've had another student who said they've been given 2 papers in a 3-paper exam. And they don't know exactly what's happening there. So, what this comes down to is three different students, for example, going after the same type of grade in the same exam and unable to know what is being expected of them, as would have been happening in the normal exams. I'm sorry, but this year I have to say the whole process of uniformity and standardisation makes no sense. It's affecting students' minds because they don't know what they're doing. I had one yesterday who contacted me and asked me to give her wording to send to her maths teacher to find out what exactly is happening with her assessment, because she was told, and I think I've mentioned her before, that everything she does in the first 3-4 weeks of the spring term would be counting towards her assessment. Then when the lockdown happened, she was told everything she does in the lockdown would be counting towards her assessment. And she worked so hard. I can't explain to you how hard she worked. She did not stop, and she really pushed herself to her limits because she wanted her grades this badly. Just before coming back after Easter, she was told everything you did before Easter does not count towards the final assessment. Just the one paper you're doing just before the break will count, and there's one more to do. Well, that was pushed upon her on her first day back without any knowledge that it was coming. Just, here is a paper for you to do, which she did. And of course the anxiety and the stress and the shock would have affected her grades. So she did the paper anyway, but she was now unsure as to whether she has completed her assessments or if there was more to come. I'm not surprised that she felt that way, to be honest, because another student has told me exactly the same thing. She has said to me that her teacher said to her, that is the final assessment unless we need more. That is the final unless we need more. I don't understand. How is that supposed to settle anyone's mind? Now, those are the examples of the problems with the standardisation process and the uniformity between schools. Now let's look at the actual process. The actual process says up until the first week of April, centres were supposed to deliver a process, a set of a policy on which they will follow for the assessment time this year. They were supposed to get it formalised and submitted to the JCQ, and the JCQ would then have a look through it and say whether or not it was adequate, and this would be done by the end of April through virtual visits if necessary, and meetings and usual forms of communication. So you would have thought that the centre would have a formal idea about when assessments would start, when they would finish, and what they would include. But instead, we have this young lady who I spoke about a few minutes ago contacting her teacher. I gave her the words, and the teacher has come back saying, I don't know if that is the end. You need to contact the head of maths. Well, schools and colleges should now be into the process of internal and external quality assurance. Surely somebody knows, and surely that person, or even the head of department or the head of school, knows of the benefits of saying to students, this is what is happening. They respond better, their brains don't stress as much, and we all know that brains need to not stress to be able to be effective. It's honestly a palaver. This is supposed to be education in which a brain is enriched and a brain is given all of this information that it needs to be able to move forward and take in more. You know, brains need to be a little bit relaxed to be able to do that, but these kids are being played with. Well, the final date for submission of the final grades is June the 18th, after which evidence will be called for virtually for different subjects, probably around 5 samples per subject, for the exam boards to check, the awarding bodies to check, and to see if they actually match and are actually of a standard which can be awarded. My personal view is that the exam boards would have been better off saying we're not going to examine on the following subjects, you know, and give a list of subjects and follow through on the exams as normal, because I would have far less stressed out kids coming to me for support. Not that they're not welcome, they're always welcome. Remember, if your kid needs support as well, you can always contact me on jgeducate.com, and I am happy to give a free, no obligation consultation on how we can get them back on track. I'm not surprised that we have behaviour management issues, because the kids have no idea what is happening in schools, and just because we're back from lockdown doesn't actually mean that everything will be rosy again, because there's exam years which have been messed up by the lockdown and Gavin Williamson and his lack of policies. There have been half exam years, so exam years are 2 years long. The ones who are in their first year of exams have now got 1 year to catch up on everything that they need for those past years. Like I said, if they need support, you know what to do. Hit subscribe for one on the YouTube channel, hit consultation for two on jgeducate.com. This will at least get them on the first step of the support that they need. But I promise you, I will always be honest and straightforward with you as to what they need. It's not all about knowledge, passing on knowledge. It's not all about that. They need a certain mindset. They need a brain that is able to think. Right now, with the lack of uniformity, the lack of standardization, the lack of communication within schools, there will be behavior management problems because the kids are suffering. Their mental health is suffering, and something needs to be done to fix it. I'm not going to give you anything more this week, but I want you to have a little think about that and how it's affecting your child. Are there any things that are happening that you're just starting to see coming through? Behavior changes, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to take on teachers who are stressed as well. There's so much, like my fish, you've just seen that they're fighting as well now. My goodness. Let's start bringing this back together again. Let's start working out the way forward for our kids, because we need to control it. Until then, I will see you next week for some more tidbits. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel, contact me on jgeducate.com. Free, no obligation consultation. You take care now.